Hi everyone, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. I'm trying something a little bit different with my camera tonight, so hopefully it is going to work here. Let me just pull myself up here on my computer. I want to make sure I'm going right here. Okay, I think I'm at the right spot now. Great, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to cut the glare a little bit, hopefully on my glasses, because all I can see is the light reflecting in them right now. Anyhow, I'm trying something a little bit different with my camera tonight, just in the hopes that when I switch around, it won't be quite as bumpy, bouncy for you guys. So I hope everybody had a great week. Again, it's Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. And I have been a Stampin' Up demonstrator now. Sorry about my finger there. I was trying to swipe for comments and did it on the wrong thing here anyhow. Yeah, it's Monday. All right, so anyhow, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator for almost 10 years now and have loved every minute of it. This going live thing I've been doing for a little over a year. I was surprised actually when I went back and looked at my first video, which was in May, and I've really enjoyed doing it. In fact, I've gotten comfortable enough doing it that I was recently asked to film a 1-minute video for a work-related item and didn't have any problems doing that, and I'm not so sure I would have done that a year ago. So one of the perks of going live. Anyhow, a quick update on my family this weekend. We had a pretty mellow week actually. Saturday was another hot, humidity, yet rainy day. So I spent it actually working in the lower level of my home, which doesn't get much natural light, making some cards and things like that, because Sunday was a beautiful day and I knew I'd be able to stand up. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for tuning in here. I appreciate it. I was able to spend Sunday then in the upper part of my house where I had lots of natural light and things to enjoy the beauty of what was happening outside, because it was an absolutely gorgeous day with no humidity. But mostly we just got some errands done. I spent a good chunk of Saturday helping my mom with some things, and not a whole lot more in terms of excitement with that. Had a close call with one of my cats, kind of thinking we might be losing her, but she seems to have bounced back from a really bad fall, and I'm pretty happy about that. Have also made a decision to augment some of her, hey Ann, special dietary food that she's been on with some regular food in the hopes of getting her to eat a little bit more, and that seems to be working as well. So that was good news. Anyhow, I am really excited to share with you a stamp set tonight. If you know me, if you've seen me flipping my camera around, that sort of thing, you know that lighthouses are something that I really like. Whenever we travel, both my husband and I have a thing with lighthouses, and we do try very hard to see them when we take vacations and things like that. And in the annual catalog, it is on page 100 in the catalog. There's actually a new lighthouse stamp. It's called Lighthouse Point, and there is a coordinating set of dies that go with it. And I just got my set actually last week. I did not buy it right away, which I don't really know why I didn't, but I didn't. And I started playing with it today, and I thought, I saw a card out there. I kind of like I like the layout of it, but I wanted to change it up just a little bit and make it look more stormy in the background, and I'm just thrilled. It's not often that you get these ideas in your head and they work out when you go to put it down on your card. And this is one of those that just really worked out and looked nice. So I'm going to stop yapping here, and I am going to flip over my camera. Again, I apologize for those of you that get a little seasick. Just shut your eyes for a second. But I'm hopefully, with the slight change that I made, I've got 2 different stands now. I'm hoping I can flip it over a little bit quicker and not make anybody sick here. Just a moment, please. You'll get to see a little bit of my messy desk. Oops. Okay. Hey, I think I got it. That's a little bit better than what we had, wasn't it? Hi, Kim. Hi, Kay. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get rid of my fancy camera stand here. And we'll move ahead. All right. Let me straighten out cameras and stuff just a titch. Sometimes it's easier to change the stand, and sometimes it's a little easier to change what I'm working with. Okay, enough fidgeting around. Let's go ahead and get started. So anyhow, all right, you guys also know me well enough to know that I can't stand it when stuff is crooked. So I'm going to try one more adjustment. All right, now I'm going to leave it alone. Anyhow, like I said, I'm just really excited, and I'm thrilled with how my card turned out, because I had this vision in my head and it worked. So the stamp set that I'm talking about is this Lighthouse Point. It is a photopolymer stamp, which means it's easy to put them in and know right what stamp you've misplaced, perhaps on your elbow like I did last week. It is two-step stamping. Some nice greetings, just some really cool things with it. And today I'm actually using primarily the dies for this set. And actually, I'm only using the dies for this set now that I think about it. And it comes with a really cool set of dies. It's a fairly large set, and the dies are, as you might guess, called Lighthouse Dies. And it is a total of 11 dies. So it comes with 2 different size lighthouses, and then if you want to switch the topper, you've got a little die to do that. As near as I can tell, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what this is, but I think it's just a background piece, and I'll show you how I used it. You've got the light beacon coming out. These are rocks, but in today's card I also used them as a cloud. And then these are great for the greetings, and they fit more than just the greetings that come with the set, so they're very versatile. I don't know if you remember those stitch dies that we had that were kind of this shape. I really miss that shape. This isn't quite the same. Instead it leaves a little indentation instead of a stitching, but it does work out really well for the sentiments in this set. So let me go ahead and get started. Tonight's video is kind of a bonus because I'm not only showing you how to make this gorgeous card, but I'm also going to show you a new technique. Well, I shouldn't say new technique, but a technique that I haven't shared with you before, and that's using watercolor paper and a block to create the image of the card. And so this is the card we're going to make today. Get that out of here. And I did this on watercolor. Embossing with white, and then these are all the die cuts from this stamp set. So to save a little bit of time, I have already heat embossed this white. I found that it took just a titch longer to melt on the watercolor paper than it did on regular cardstock, and besides that, it makes a lot of noise. And then the other change that I want to make on this card is I'd like to have a little bit more of this lighter color and not just the dark color. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. It's just how it ran. So I'm going to play with that just a little bit. And so let me grab some paper towel. This is kind of a messy technique, so just beware of that when you're working on it. But the first thing that we're going to do is work on this piece because it does need to dry for a little bit. And so what I've got here is a piece of the watercolor paper, and it measures 4 by 5 1/4, and you can see a little bit, I think, the embossing that I've done. And this particular stamp, I'm having a hard time judging where I'm at on my camera right now. Sorry about that. Anyhow, you can see where I've already embossed the image on here. And this image that I'm using is that big wave stamp from the Waves of Inspiration. And again, I just used white embossing powder. So I stamped it with the Versamark and then put the white embossing powder on there. Now to really get the watercolor part going, there's kind of 2 steps that I need to follow. The first one is I've grabbed my largest block, which is the letter F block, and I am just taking Tahitian Tide and opening it up, and I am just stamping all over my block here. And I'm going up just over halfway and filling it up with this. Okay, and then I'm also grabbing my Night of Navy, and I'm doing the same process, and I deliberately started with my lighter color first because I don't care so much if I get this Tahitian tied on the navy because it's not going to show up quite as much, but the navy would really interfere with the Tahitian tied. So that's why I'm doing it in this order. There will be just a little bit of crossover. And you can see that I need to press down in the middle of my Night of Navy stamp pad a little bit. And then I'm just going to cross over like that. So I've got it covered pretty well. I'm going to set that aside just for a second. And then I've got one of the Stampin' Up spritzers, and I label mine because I do have rubbing alcohol in some of mine, so this is just straight water here. And I'm just going to spritz water all over my card, and I'm getting it, I'm not soaking it, but it's fairly wet, and you're going to see it start curling up. And I want it wet so that when I put it to get the watercolor look, that the colors really run. So what I'm going to do now is, let me just move this in the middle here. You are going to get messy, and so I do recommend, if you have just a scratch paper that you can grab, it will save a little bit on your fingers. And so what I'm going to do, this is the bottom part, and I want that more in the turquoise. So I'm going to just stick this on top of my block. And then what I'm going to do is take my piece of paper and stick it over. And that way I can rub, and I don't care if I go over to the edge of the block. I'm not going to get it all over my fingers. And the only reason I'm really concerned about not getting it all over my fingers is I don't want to spread it when I go to do the rest of my card if I inadvertently get some on my fingers. And so I'm just rubbing it over the block, and then I will pick it up, and there you go. And so what's going to happen now is it's going to kind of run down and keep making colors. Each card that you make with this technique is going to look a little bit different. I'm just going to blot up the extra one. And so the next, see, I'm still getting my hands dirty even if I try not to. The next step that I'm going to do, you could let this dry naturally. I am actually going to use my heat tool so that we can get going. So this also sometimes helps move the water around and gives you a different look. We've got a really dark stormy sky now, but I think it'll lighten up as we get going. Sometimes I'll go from the back, and this paper will curl, but it does uncurl pretty quickly once it's all dry. It's just the moisture that makes it curl. So it's pretty easy to get it to flatten out once you're all done. So like I said, each card is going to be a little bit different in how it looks, and that's cool. I'm fine with that. But I did achieve some of the light blue that I wanted down here. Next card, I'm probably going to try to get somewhere in between my first card and this card. Okay, let me get rid of this, mostly because I don't want to get any of this on what I'm working on. So I'm just going to set that out of the way and make sure my fingers are also clean with no fresh ink on them. Okay, that should do it. So that's the messiest part of this card, honestly. That's not so hard. And like I said, each one that you get, it's going to look a little bit different. Just depends on how you've inked it, how you've spaced it. And so that's going to be the base of our card. The next thing that we're going to do is just start to assemble the lighthouse. I'm going to set that aside and let it kind of finish doing its thing. Now I have pre-cut a lot of my pieces here. I'm going to do a little bit of additional trimming, and I've also got some sponging and stuff that I want to do. And I'm going to change this one up just a teeny bit, I think, from the first one that I did. And we'll see what happens. So this piece is just cut out of basic white, and I dug into my scrap pile for all of the cuts that I did for the lighthouse. Now, I don't want the red showing through up here, so I'm just going to take my paper snips and trim it just below where it starts to pop out. And then I've cut a piece of yellow that I can put up here to be the light. But I can also trim that one just a bit. I don't need all of it. And I'm actually going to trim the edges off just a titch. That way if I don't get it on straight, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. It's not going to show. And then last but not least is I've cut out this piece in black, and I'm going to layer it over the white part of the lighthouse just to make a little bit of a change. And then on this card I used a black ladder or black rail. On the card I'm making tonight, I'm going to use a silver railing on that. So what I found to be the best way to get rid of that piece, that is a scrap, adhere things, is to actually get out my Tombow glue. I'm kind of surprised by how often I'm finding myself going to this now. I might be overcoming a little bit of my fear of using this liquid glue and making a mess. Or perhaps I've got better at handling the mess. I don't know. And as I say that, I just got it on my desktop, but that's all right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is lay this on the red piece. I don't know how I'm going to get it on here better. We'll try from this direction. So I'm going to start down below and get the base of it lined up, because then hopefully the sides will be lined up as well. And I want to be careful that I'm not pushing it down, because I still have glue here, and it looks like I can trim a little bit more off of this piece. I'm actually going to go up above the pointy pieces. And again, I just want to line up. And that's what's nice about the liquid glue, is you've got a little bit of shifting around that you can do. But I just want to line up the yellow on the back here, just like that. Whoops. Yep, just like that, guys. Okay, so I've just got it lined up, and you could also just cut a strip of yellow if you wanted to just put it behind the lights. It wouldn't matter. And then let me put a little bit of glue on this black piece, and I honestly haven't. You know what I'm missing here? That would be really smart to have as I'm working with the glue, my silicone mat, especially as I'm on these fine edges here. And I'm just gently squeezing out a little bit of this adhesive on the fine lines, and smear that around a little bit. Okay, and then I can put this piece on top of here. And so you can see it just changes up the lighthouse. The only thing that's different so far is just this black piece instead of the white. And then I'm going to take the silver that I cut out. I did put this on the adhesive backing so that I have a little sticker here and I don't need to worry about glue. And so I'm just going to set that on top here like this. And it does hang over the edge a little bit, but it doesn't matter, because when I go to adhere this to my card front, I'll have some sticky space there too. So it gives you an idea, just real quick and in general terms, how a little bit of a color change can change the look of the lighthouse itself. All right. Hope you're having fun so far. I think this is just a fun card. Hi Jody, thanks for watching. Alrighty, I'm now going to take a glue dot and just put this on the back of my card. Funny story, when I first started assembling it, I went like this going, that does not look right. I'm like, oh, duh. Flip it around, it's going to be finer at the source of the light and spread out as it goes over the water. Okay. So I'm going to put I want to make sure I have it pointing the right way. So it needs to go there. And that's because I'm going to keep the lighthouse on the same side so that my wave shows through on here. All right. Now, the next thing I need to do real quick is grab a tissue. And there's two reasons I'm doing this. One is this white embossing creates kind of the resist. And so I just want to wipe off the extra ink that's on the white embossing powder. Not a lot, but there's some there. And it looks like I have a little blob of wet ink. So I'm just going to dry that off real quick with the Kleenex. All right. Then what I'm going to do is actually adhere this to the next layer. And I have just created a piece of white cardstock that measures 5, I want to make sure I'm getting it, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. I want just a teeny border showing around. And so I will take my adhesive, and remember, gentle pressure and a quick check mark. And I am going to put a little bit more adhesive than I normally do on the sides just because of the curling that's occurring. And we're just going to center this on here. And I'll rub it down. All right. And then I've got a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock, scored at 5 1/2. This is the Tahitian Tide cardstock, one of the new in colors. And so let me just go along the score line, and you may notice that I've got a stamp on the back. This stamp, it says hand stamped, and it's got the Stampin' Up copyright mark on it. And I'm trying to do this actually on all my cards as I make them. Usually I end up doing a whole stack of them at one time, and that becomes a pain. But the stamp set that I'm using is the limited edition, and the reason I'm doing the Stampin' Up copyright is I do sell some of my cards, and so when I do that, I need to make sure that I'm giving Stampin' Up the credit for the images and things that are on here. And if you sell, even if you're not a demonstrator and you sell cards, you need to do that as well. So this set is available in the annual catalog. It's called the limited edition stamp set, and there's several different images, including just the copyright Stampin' Up if that's all you want to put on the back of your card. But again, I'm referring to the Angel policy for selling cards, so if you need more information on that, let me know and I'd be happy to share a link with you. In the meantime, I am now going to put adhesive on the back of the layer we just created. And again, I'm using just a teeny bit more because this is heavier with that watercolor paper. And this is just going to be centered then on the front of the Tahitian Tide card base with just a slight border. Okay. Starting to look pretty cool. And as this dries, it continues to change how it looks. The colors change on it. So I'm going to play with this one a bit more, I think. I like how it's looking. Okay, then what we are going to do is just add adhesive to the back, to the back of our, I have a lot of stuff stacked in the corner of my desk, and I think I just hit my limit on how much I can stack. So some of it just fell in the trash can. I will dig it out. Alright, so I'm just going to put this on over here. And then I did a couple things once I had this on here. First off, I am going to take, and this is not something I use a lot, and I'm going to tell you my pad is quite dry. I'm using the Whisper White Craft ink. This is a really thick ink. And like I said, my pad is dry because I haven't used it for a while, but it's absolutely perfect for what I want to do tonight, which is just simply add a little bit of color. I shouldn't say color, but I just want to randomly create some white in my storm clouds. That's mostly what I'm doing here. Oops, I got a little on the top of my lighthouse. That's all right. So I'm just kind of running through again just to add a little bit of detail. And then I've got one more place where I'm going to do that. Now, I told you that these are a die cut actually for some rocks that are in the stamp set. And if I were using them probably the way they're intended, I'd use this stamp and then cut them out. I'm actually using these as little storm clouds, but again, I wanted to add a little bit of detail to my storm clouds. So I'm using my Memento ink and a blending brush. I'm hoping this doesn't stain it too much, but if it does, it does. And I'm just lightly going over the clouds, again adding a little bit of texture and detail to the cloud. And it's just a card that you're going to kind of get your fingers messy because of everything that we're doing. And that's all right. We all clean. All right. And then again, I want to take my craft ink, and I'm only going to dip it once because I know I'm going to rub some of this black off and I don't want to get it into my craft ink. So I'm just lightly going to go over this. And again, the white just adds a little bit of texture to my storm clouds. Okay. Set that aside. I'm going to let that craft ink dry just a little bit and bring back our card. And I've got my, as Jody likes to call it, Stella Winka out. And I am just going to rub it, or brush it, rather, all over my stormy sky. Just to add a little bit of sparkle to the storm clouds. Getting it in the waves just a little bit too. And you can see I'm just kind of randomly brushing it on. I'm really not putting it in any kind of order whatsoever. Just adding sparkle to my card. And then I'm going to add my storm clouds. One of them I'm going to slide behind the lighthouse a little bit, and the other one I'm just putting out there. So hopefully I can still lift that up. Yep. All right. And then this one, I am pressing down way harder than I should be on my tape reel there, so I'm having some issues with it. And so there I've got my clouds. So here's the front of these two cards. Which do you like better on the background, the lighter sky with more of the dark in the water, or do you like the lighter water with the darker sky? Like I said, each one's going to be a little bit different. I won't be able to duplicate these again. I'm pretty certain of that. So inside I used a happy birthday greeting. I needed some masculine cards for birthdays, and so I'm deliberately making them more masculine in order to be able to do that. So I've just got a happy birthday greeting. This comes from a fabulous stamp set that is in this is in the annual catalog also, and it's just happy birthday, thinking of you, just a note, and thank you, in several different fonts and sizes. It is a great, if you are commonly using these greetings, I highly recommend this set, because just by the change that you put on here in the font that you're using or the side, you can really change up a card. So go-to greetings, that's the stamp set I recommend. Now to do this, I actually cut that die from the Lighthouse Dies twice. I did it once in the basic white and once in the Tahitian Tide, and I spread it out on the back side to give it a little bit of pop on my card, since I put it on the inside of the card. On this one, remember I told you there was that funky die and I wasn't totally sure what to do, but thought it could be a background design. At least that's how I'm using it today. This is what it looks like when it's die cut out. Definitely one that you want to make sure you're using adhesive backing on before you die cut it out, because there are lots of thin little lines there. And then I've got my happy birthday sentiment again that I die cut using that die from the Lighthouse set, and I'm just going to stick it off of this one a little bit so that that blue pops out and adds just a little bit of background. Okay, and we'll pop our sentiment here just like that. So I think that adds a little bit of background. Pretty cool. And we will simply put our adhesive on the inside here and attach our greeting, or our inside piece with the sentiment on it. I thought the outside was already, there was so much on it, I didn't want to add any more greetings to it. So there you go. Again, the paper I used is Tahitian Tide for the card base, 4 1/4 by 11. Scored at 5 1/2. It's layered with basic white at 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then a piece of the watercolor paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. I used my stamping block F with the ink pads and my spritzer to get the watercolor paper really wet after I embossed it with the white wave here. And that's how I created my background, sparkling it up a little bit with Winkostella, and created a cool card. I'm really pleased, like I said, with how this turned out. That doesn't always happen. I hope you had fun learning how to make this card, and really do give this technique a try with the blocks. And you can do it on small blocks and just make a little square. You don't have to fill the sheet up. There's lots of things that you can do with that. But a great way to combine this Lighthouse set with others that you may have in your stash of stamps already. And if you have any questions on how to do it, let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video tonight. I really do appreciate your support. If you know of anybody who may like this or likes lighthouses and stamps, be sure to share this video with them as well so that they can learn something new tonight as well. Take care, everybody, and have a great week. Thank you.